So I think we'll go ahead and move into our third topic of discussion, and this is issues in oil field areas, which I know a lot of the states also have oil field areas with concerns with their CMV-related crashes. And this is going to be led by both Lieutenant Dave Wolf and Lieutenant Adam Dvorak for the North Dakota Highway Patrol. And I believe Lieutenant Wolf is going to take the lead on this particular presentation. So Lieutenant Wolf has been with the Highway Patrol since '97 in a variety of positions and has served on numerous committees within the agency, holds several NAS inspection certifications, and is a certified post board instructor in North Dakota. And so Lieutenant Wolf, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. So thank you for having us. I'll be going through a PowerPoint. Lieutenant Dvorak will also be in the room there, so he'll kind of interject anything he has. But what we'd like to do is just go over some issues we've had in the oil fields up here in North Dakota over the last probably decade or so. I know a lot of other states are impacted by that as well. So like everybody else that performs motor carrier work, our primary mission with our state and federal partners is to reduce crashes, injuries, and fatalities involving large trucks and buses. And that seemed to be very predominant up in that area as the oil peaked. So what I'd like to do is just give a quick history of what was going on up here in North Dakota. We had what was called the Bakken Shale Formation. You can see it touched Canada, a few provinces in Canada, Montana, and North Dakota. And this impacted about 5 counties in northwest North Dakota. Prior to that, that were pretty sparsely populated. And it started a quick influx of people, companies, and oil companies that were looking to develop the area. So the history of it really started in 2008 and peaked until 2015. And there was an estimation of 3 to 4 billion barrels of recoverable oil, even though the formation was estimated to be at about 24 billion barrels. It peaked in 2012 with a rig count where that was actively drilling at 217. I just checked our state website this morning, and we're only currently at 19 full-time rigs drilling in North Dakota with about 15,000 active wells. So they are still producing about 900,000 barrels a day, which puts us second leading oil producer next to Texas. Each rig produces about 125 full-time jobs. So that brings in a large influx of workers and families and other folks that are supporting those rigs. In 2008, the oil price of the Bakken crude is what they refer to it as at $126 per barrel. Today it's trading at $56, and it hit its lowest point in April of 2020. I apologize, I should say 2020 at $11.76 dollars per barrel. And at one point it was negative, I believe, one day last year during the COVID pandemic. So this is how our agency is kind of situated. Our highway patrol, we're broken up into 4 regional regions. You can see the Northwest is where the oil activity was. And then our motor carrier operations are statewide. We have officers that are stationed throughout every one of those regions that conduct our CMV inspections. The Northwest region that you see in this previous slide, the blue slide, or the blue area of North Dakota, really doesn't have a ton of manpower. I think every state's probably in the same boat. We're not overflowing with people, boots on the ground. So you can kind of see where they're at for their numbers. And then we supplement their enforcement activities with our commercial motor vehicle enforcement. So that does relate to how we investigate, respond, and try and prevent crashes. On this chart, you can kind of see where we've been at for traffic fatalities in our state. In 2012, which was the height of the oil boom, we recorded 170 fatalities in North Dakota. There's been a downward trend into 2020. I know our 2020 numbers I don't have on here also were 100 traffic fatalities. And I'll talk a little bit about a campaign that we implemented in 2018 called Vision Zero. Our governor implemented it to try and get us down to 0 fatalities and a goal of 75 fatalities by 2025. Adam, do you happen to recall the fatal count for 2021 where we're sitting?
I think we are at 26. So
Okay.
pretty high year to date, unfortunately.
So I tried to pull some numbers as it relates to CMV crashes in the oil fields, because that's kind of what we're focusing on. And in 2019, we had 10 just in those 5 counties that were related to commercial motor vehicles. Had a drop in 2020 down to 8 fatal crashes involving commercial motor vehicles in the 5 oil impacted counties. And the latest statistic I could get for this year was we're currently sitting at 1. All the law enforcement in the room probably knows I just jinxed ourselves with that comment, but we're very happy with that. So what are some of the challenges in the oil fields? They're very unique. The area of North Dakota where that's being developed or was being developed primarily has no interstates. There's no interstate system running through there. There are some 4-lane federal highway, state and federal highways, but there's no interstate system. It's primarily comprised of state and county roads. And a lot of those county roads we don't normally patrol those roadways. We kind of leave that up to the sheriff's offices and the local police departments. So that is a kind of a challenge when you only have 14 officers working 7-8 counties to get onto those county roads. So that's something we experienced. Also, we had a large influx of out-of-state workers. We have a very diverse, I guess, 4 seasons up in North Dakota. They're very distinct. Our winter weather can be very challenging, not only the roadways, but the temperatures. And a lot of those people coming from out of state were from the southern part of the country and very unaware of driving conditions in inclement weather. So a lot of our crashes were related to speeding, too fast for conditions, whether it be rain, sleet, snow, ice. So that was a very distinct challenge we faced up here. And then just the tremendous amount of CMV traffic that revolves around supporting and servicing those rigs and wells. And our roadways, like probably every other state, your roadway is engineered decades ago, and it's very hard to keep up with the traffic patterns and traffic flows because they are intermittent. So it was something we had to really play catch up with was our roadways. And we're finally putting some 4-lane through the major corridors and building some bypasses around some of the communities. Working with the oil industry, as many of you know, there's a sense of urgency. There's a lot of time crunch to get things built, to get things going. Time is money kind of in that industry. So there was everything was occurring very quickly. And then also in that area, we do have some tribal lands, and there's some jurisdiction issues where we aren't commonly on those tribal lands patrolling actively. We do respond to calls for service and crashes, and we would assist with fatal crash investigations on those tribal lands. So that was another hurdle that we did face up in our oil fields. This is a map from 2019, kind of a heat map of where our CMV serious injury crashes were occurring. And you can definitely see the pattern where it kind of trends up in that northwest area. So we know that's a very active area, even within that, just 2 years ago. So that map indicates from 2015 to 2019. Like many of our crashes, we try and focus down on what are the causation factors. What can we do to eliminate these crashes before they happen? And some of the common factors we find up here are number one, speeding, just driving too fast. Reaction times aren't there. Right of way, failure to yield, a lot of rural intersections that are either unmarked or poorly marked. So we saw a lot of right of way crashes. Lack of seatbelt usage. There was a survey done in 2019 in that area where seatbelt usage was in the mid 50%, where statewide it's in the high 80s. So we knew there was a lack of seatbelt usage and we tried to target that. Impaired and distracted driving, a lot of things going on in the cab of trucks and vehicles. A lot of our crashes in that area weren't solely the fault of the CMV driver. Many times it was a passenger vehicle that was at fault in the crash, but they did end up crashing with a commercial vehicle. And then of course our weather related events, too fast for conditions, kind of a generic term we use when we go to crashes, and we have icy roadways and people lose control of their vehicle, and we kind of categorize it under that. So what do we do? How do we kind of combat this? I kind of refer to them as our 3 E's: education, enforcement, and engineering. I'm going to play a quick video. This is something that was put out in 2018, and it kind of demonstrates some of the lack of knowledge, or maybe the lack of engagement that the citizens might have when it comes to traffic fatalities.
Probably the tens of thousands. I guess it'd be up there in the tens of thousands, I guess. Maybe 100 a day, 100 a week. Million and a half. Probably 1,000. Maybe about 90,000, about a third of that. 50, maybe 50,000. Probably distraction or drunk driving. I would probably have to say drinking and driving, alcohol, driving under the influence, drinking and driving. So, why is that? We're human. I don't believe so, not in my lifetime. I'd love to see it. I've got kids that are growing up there and be driving, so I'd love to see that, but unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen. Probably not unless cars become fully automated. If people keep drinking and not paying attention to the road, definitely when texting, probably not.
No, never.
Why is that?
Well, because something always goes wrong, no matter what you do about it.
Try to at least get it down to maybe a half, or maybe a third of what it's at now. Single digits. Probably at least 10 or 15.
Well, as far as the goal goes, even though it's maybe unrealistic, 0 should always be your goal.
As low as possible.
Zero.
Well, ideal goal would be 0.
0 for my family.
0.
0.
So kind of an interesting video. really shows some different ideas on what traffic fatalities are, what they, how they affect them personally. Everyone says zero, but when it affects somebody else, it seems like their numbers a little higher. So interesting video just to get some engagement from the citizens. So what we kind of do for education with the citizens of North Dakota is Vision Zero. We'll talk about a little bit here in a minute, but we use some strategies from them. We've formulated a Vision Zero heavy vehicle committee. There are 6 committees on the Vision Zero strategy board. We just added heavy vehicles to kind of address, and when we're talking heavy vehicles, we're just talking commercial vehicles over 10,001 pounds. We just call it heavy vehicle committee to address issues driving around semis, driving around trucks, and then also driver behavior in trucks. We routinely visit our trucking companies and provide information. Found this very valuable. However, a lot of times the companies we're going to are all about safety. They necessarily don't need us to come in, but they like to have that interaction with us. So we do those requests whenever we have people available. We have a pretty heavy campaign on no zones and hands-free driving. We do some digital billboards, print ads, some wall advertising at local restaurants, things like that. And then our North Dakota Motor Carriers Association has been a great partner hosting safety seminars. And we really had to transition virtually during COVID, and it's worked for us. So we've kind of embraced that, and we put one seminar on every quarter, and we typically have different topics that we do with them. Recently, we had our legislative session. We proposed a primary seatbelt law. Unfortunately, it didn't pass, but it was the closest we've ever come to passing a primary law in North Dakota for all vehicles. So we'll continue that. We routinely do radio appearances. We like to get on talk shows, open up the phone lines to our citizens to ask questions, and we really push out a heavy social media presence. We have a safety and education officer that primarily his job is to work with our social media in the field and push out any sort of safety messages. And then we've really had a strong partnership with Federal Railroad for crossing grade education and enforcement. I threw this up here. We had just tremendous interaction or success with this social media post. We never expected this. This was during road check a few weeks ago. We came across this gentleman at one of our inspection sites, 89-year-old truck driver who had an immaculate truck. So we just thought we'd throw it out there, and we ended up reaching about 1.3 million people by the time we had 5,000 shares on it, and just really kind of a neat positive interaction on our social media. So this is Vision Zero. Like I said, it was a campaign started in 2018 by our governor, Governor Burgum, and it kind of brought everybody together, all the players, our DOT, Highway Patrol, law enforcement in the state, to really kind of work under one roof. I know a lot of other states have similar campaigns, but the Vision Zero strategies are to promote responsibility first and foremost, individual responsibility, reduce the serious injuries and fatals, and know that they are preventable, that we can take steps to reduce and prevent them. And the primary mission is to eliminate all fatal and injury crashes on our roadways. And like I said earlier, the goal of 75 traffic deaths by 2025 has been implemented. They did develop a crash dashboard that's open to the public and also to our employees to kind of get some of that buy-in from our employees, some engagement, so that's updated daily. And they can go on that and see where our crash stats are sitting. I'll touch on our CMV enforcement real quick in the oil producing counties. Currently, like I said, our motor carrier operations are statewide. We're spread out. We do not have a large staff that are dedicated to MixApp, but all of our troopers are trained. We're trying to get all of our traffic troopers trained to a level 2 status to conduct level 2 inspections. But currently we have 2 full-time MixApp inspectors and a full-time sergeant up in the Northwest area in those counties, with 85% of their time spent on high quality CMV inspections. And we also have a full-time size and weight trooper with 90% of his time dedicated to that function, with 5 of those statewide. So like I said, we are spread out. We do cover a lot of ground. Not unlike many other states, I assume. 3 of our MixApp troopers are assigned to do compliance reviews 6 months out of the year. We found that that is a very valuable tool to not only to kind of bridge the gap from enforcement to compliance. And annually, they do conduct an oil field blitz where they spend a week out in the oil field and are assigned, 1 or 2 companies to go in and do a CR. And then our new entrant folks also spend a week out in the oil fields and meet with companies, do some on-site inspections to get them up and running. Within the Vision Zero strategy, we've created some Vision Zero corridors. We specify highways that are marked and signed that we would like to see some reduction in traffic crashes. And there is one of those specifically up in one of those 5 counties. We conduct quarterly traffic enforcement efforts that are built into our CVSP. We like to get our troopers out on the road and do some roadside enforcement. We have high emphasis team details and blitzes during road check, Operation Safe Driver Week, brake safety campaigns. Today we're having a brake safety day through CVSA. So we really try and mobilize and be in those areas, in those counties. A few years ago, we purchased a performance brake testing machine. We deploy that up in the oil fields routinely to get an idea of where we're at on safety with our brakes, and it's really produced some tremendous results. We like to maintain a high level of presence at our fixed sites conducting those inspections. We do have a weigh station up there with a large parking lot right on Highway 55 that a majority of our truck traffic passes through on a daily basis. And we've increased our troopers screening capabilities using DriveWise, pre-pass, and portal accounts, and also having our officers really, take a look at those ISS scores and try and focus on some of those companies with high safety ratings. Just threw up a map here of our weigh in motion sites. You can see we do have 4 of them up in that oil field country. And those can be logged in virtually by our officers, and they can work in those areas to target some weight enforcement. And the last E that we really work closely with NDDOT on, our Department of Transportation, is planning new inspection sites. There's the photo on the bottom there is one we currently use, and it's kind of been our model moving forward. Whenever there's road construction projects, we typically get together with DOT and they ask us if we'd like some CMV inspection sites so that we can get some good real estate there to get off the roadway, get off that main line and do some safe inspections. And we've really made a push to improve signs across our state for our drivers to enter and exit our inspection sites. And it also ensures the safety of our inspectors. On the map here, you can see our active and proposed sites that we currently have. The ones in green are active and very heavy up in that northwest area of North Dakota. The DOT has really started implementing roundabouts. I actually sat in a meeting earlier this week. Another roundabout is planned up in the oil fields, and they're looking at some size limitations and dimensions for those with all of our oversized and over length loads. But the roundabouts have really helped on some of the major intersections, reduce those right-of-way crashes that we do have. I just thought we'll put up a slide here, what we can do better. Definitely add more inspectors in those oil regions. We can always expand our outreach efforts. We're, developing our CVSP to identify changing issues, because the issues do change. And utilize our data better to focus our enforcement efforts. Lieutenant Dvorak does provide the field with a lot of information related to traffic patterns, speeding, things like that, so we can focus our enforcement and education efforts in those specific counties. And then utilizing outside law enforcement agencies to conduct inspections. We recently have worked with the sheriff's office up in McKenzie County, which is in the heart of oil country, to get a few of their officers level 1 trained. So we are reaching out to other law enforcement. And with that, I will let Adam add anything that he has. That is our contact information. And if anyone has any questions or comments of us.
Okay, I'd have to admit that we were a little worried that Lieutenant Wolf wasn't going to be able to present today due to some emergencies. So most of my preparation was wondering how I was going to get revenge on Lieutenant Wolf, because I am in no means an expert on CMV. I'm kind of new to this and I'm learning, but I guess what I'm trying to bring to the table is the data element, figuring out how to navigate that. And the presentations everyone's made today have been great and have helped me with that. Seeing what you guys are doing, it doesn't make me feel like we're so far behind everyone else if we're kind of all working on the same thing. Now with that, I guess our mentality with the Highway Patrol since I've started has kind of been that I like to call it the beehive mentality. Like we have our little beehives all around the state, and if we have a problem in a certain area of the state, we send troopers there, and we just add troopers. We had the oil field, let's add troopers up there, and it's kind of it's not the best response. It's kind of you got to do a little bit more work than that. So what I'm trying to do is really dig into the information and get them exactly what they should be doing and where they should be working to combat and to try basically stop fatalities, because that is the whole goal. So I want to dig deeper into a lot of the things that we're talking about today and maybe have some conversations with you. It's nice to know, okay, where speeding was a factor, or distracted driving was a factor, or seatbelts were a factor. But I think we can do a better job than that and really looking in. And I think North Dakota is a great place to do that because we don't have the numbers that some of the other states have. We have a lot fewer fatalities. I can reach out to those troopers and go, okay, tell me about the crash you covered. What happened? Well, this truck was rear-ended by a motorcycle, for example. And normally a trooper would go to the scene and just mark the box, rear-end collision, and we move on, and that gets put on a chart somewhere. And then we go, okay, obviously we have a following too close issue. But I want to go deeper than that. I don't want to just know, hey, this is what led to the death. I need to know what happened prior to that. So that's what I'm really trying to figure out a way to do that. I don't know how to do it, and I'm trying to really dig in, but we do have that luxury in our state that we don't have so many fatalities that it's just this overwhelming amount of data to process. So I can individually reach out. I can have the people that I work with look into these and go, okay, what led to this? If it was, let's say it was, we got the driving too fast for conditions, which is kind of our catch-all in North Dakota. Well, drove too fast for conditions, went off the road, rolled over, was killed. Well, okay, why were they driving too fast for the conditions? Like, can we talk to the investigating officer? Can we find out, was this a geometry issue with the roadway? Was this a inexperienced driver? Was this person in a hurry because they were close to violating a rule of time for driving? So I really want to figure out a way to do that, and I'm excited to be here because a lot of us are working on the same thing and just trying to get away from the same old, just send more troopers at the issue, and we should be able to figure it out, because I think we can do a little bit better job than that. So like I said, I'm no expert. My goal here, if Lieutenant Wolf wasn't gonna be able to show up, was just to entertain you instead of educate you. But I look forward to talking to you guys, continuing about what you guys are thinking for the future, and how to use this data, and maybe how to use the data a little bit better. That's all I have, and you do have to say, Lieutenant Wolf, granular. That was one of your jobs.
I apologize. I let you down.
Well, it looks like you fit it in there, so I think you're good. Anyone have any comments? That was some great information you provided there, Lieutenant Wolf. Lots of good strategies that you're already starting to implement, and things that you're looking at in North Dakota. And so I think you probably gave some folks a lot of good ideas of things that they can maybe take back to their own states to start looking at doing as well. Dustin, do we have any comments online at all?
We do not have any questions.
Anyone else in the room want to share any comments?
Hello, thank you. My name is Brenda. I'm with the NHTSA Regional Office in Colorado here, and I was just curious, your observation previously in regards to those rural crashes involving CMVs with those unmarked four-way intersections. Do you have any thoughts around how, I've seen it pop up in many rural states. Do you have any thoughts on how to, obviously you can't have troopers everywhere, outreach efforts to educate the motoring public, ways, or their engineering options? Do you have any thoughts around that?
Yeah, I think, we definitely try and address those when we see them. And over time, those are usually kind of taken care of. We work very closely with the local sheriff's offices, especially when we're at crash scenes. Typically what happens is we investigate the crash, we do a reconstruction on it, and we can put down, we have engineering concerns on our crash reports, and those are forwarded to the state and local counties to remedy some of those things. So we definitely want to take care of those types of intersections if they need signage, rumble strips, what have you.
Great. Thanks again, Lieutenant Wolf.